People really don't know what their expenses will be because they don't know how long that they're going to live.
Americans are worried they won't have enough saved for retirement now more than ever.
Retirement is going to cost, for many folks, over $1 million.
Is no sure thing in investing, but a lot of people think that annuities may come close to that.
It's going to more safe things that they know. If they know they're going to need that money to supplement their retirement, well, then you can't play that risk.
This is the Safe Money and Retirement Show with Jon Heischman Sr., founder and partner of Heischman Financial Services, serving the Columbus and surrounding areas. Jon specializes in educating pre-retirees and retirees about safe money strategies and ideas. Now, it's the Safe Money and Retirement Show. Here's Jon Heischman Sr.
Good morning. This is Jon Heischman, your host. I'm glad you took the time this morning to tune in, where I discuss a topic on retirement planning. Before I get started, I have a number that I'd like for you to write down, because throughout the show, there very well could be a topic that you're interested in, you'd like more information, or you would like to contact me. That number is 888-426-0177. Once again, 888-426-0177. As mentioned, you may have questions, or the no-cost, no-obligation book that I offer, which is the Retirement Income Manual. Many of my listeners have taken advantage of this book, so those that don't have it, all you have to do is to call that number, request a copy of the Retirement Income and Owner's Manual. 888-426-0177. You're getting ready to retire, or you've just retired, and it's time to get your retirement plan started, putting it all together. Over the years, you have heard and read and listened to topics on retirement planning, different ideas, and gathered a lot of information. But all the information, knowledge, and insight will be totally worthless if you don't start doing something about it now. Start to implement those strategies that you've heard, that you've read about, in order to create a plan that works for you, not your neighbor, not a family member, but that works just for you. And that is going to be based on your assets, what you've accumulated over the years through employer accounts, IRAs, bank savings, investment accounts, all need to come together to form that retirement plan. Why is it that so many retirees do not have a plan? Well, they do by having a general idea in their mind as to where their income is going to come from. Income, guaranteed income, is at the top of the list in retirement planning. However, there are so many other parts that have to be considered, and one great example is the risk that you'll face during retirement. These risks are potential risk that will affect your retirement income, because there's the potential to drain the money out of those retirement accounts and non-retirement accounts that individuals have to take from in order to pay the high cost of health care, increase in taxes, and inflation. And I would bet that there are parts of retirement planning, areas that have not been brought to your attention, and some areas that you may think, I've never thought about that. That is a potential risk that could drain or ruin your retirement plan for guaranteed income the rest of your retirement. Those must be addressed, or at least brought to your attention so you're aware of these retirement risks and how to protect your retirement income plan from these risks. Now, many will know the risk, but are unable to plan to offset these risks, and that's primarily due to the funds they have available for retirement. My job is to at least make you aware and to determine if those risks can be protected against, or maybe some of those risks can be satisfied by ideas and options that are available to you, but you just weren't aware of them. To give you an example, the best one I can think about is the long-term care situation. Most of you have had a parent, relative, or friends, people you know, that have been faced with needing long-term care. And it's very possible you are aware of what the cost was, whether it's in-home care or at a nursing home. This cost can deplete fairly quickly retirement assets that are needed throughout your retirement. And many have thought, I just can't afford a long-term care policy. And believe me, I totally understand that because I am very much aware of what a long-term care policy is going to cost. But my point is, the majority of retirees are not aware of the new creative ways to cover that risk of long-term care cost. I might be able to show you a way to cover that cost, and it has very little or no cost out of your pocket or your budget. But again, most people have not been exposed to that type of planning because their advisor focuses on growth and maybe income planning. I'm just using that one risk of long-term care as an example of the risk that need to be addressed with every retiree. And once again, whether you can do something about it or not, at least you're going to be aware. So in planning, we've got to address, you might say, that other side of retirement planning, which is protection. We have to protect your income. We have to protect you against inflation, increased taxes, and increase in healthcare cost. Otherwise, your investments that have grown over the years will not be protected. So think about that. Call me with your questions or to schedule a time to talk about your situation and the risk to your retirement. There is absolutely no cost and no obligation, no pressure at all to buy anything. This is planning. It's not selling. 888-426-0177. I'll give you that number again. It's 888-426-0177.
Thanks for listening to the Safe Money and Retirement Show with Jon Heischman. For more information, call 1-888-426-0177. That's 1-888-426-0177. Or visit their website at HeischmanFS.com. More of the Safe Money and Retirement Show in a moment.
With healthcare costs expected to continue to increase faster than the inflation rate, the time to take a look at your future healthcare is now. Not in retirement, but if at all possible before retirement. If you've already retired, it still isn't too late. A lot of the cost can be controlled. We work out a plan how to cover the increased cost that we're all going to be faced with. And believe me, I think it's probably going to be the number one increasing cost that we're all going to see in retirement. You want to talk further? You can give me a call. 888-426-0177. 888-426-0177.
Welcome back to the Safe Money and Retirement Show with Jon Heischman. To contact Jon, the number to call is 1-888-426-0177. That's 1-888-426-0177. Once again, here's Jon Heischman.
Many people will procrastinate in this area, especially those that are aware that there are risks to your retirement assets and income. They know they need to do something. They know they need to take action, but continue to think about it and delay the decision for some reason, or think that it's going to cost them too much to address these retirement risks. And in my opinion, procrastination could be the single biggest enemy of retirees. It's the one action that is a total lack of action. Knowledge is worthless if it isn't used or addressed. Understanding and wisdom don't really mean anything if it isn't addressed. Having results, it's just not going to happen if you don't take action. Maybe it's a fear of the unknown that paralyzes people, kind of like a deer staring at the headlights of a car in the road. Maybe they're confused. They have heard totally different views and can't move to action. And like I mentioned earlier, maybe they've listened to advice from other people, friends, relatives, and even financial people that it's contrary and confusing, and they don't know what to do about that situation. So the end result is they do nothing. Or it could be a situation where a retiree is afraid of taking a portion of their money out of the bank. And maybe they've never used certain investments or savings accounts before. So they're leery of doing so because this money is going to be earmarked for retirement income. And most of the time, this is a situation where an individual does not have sources of guaranteed income. The important point is to at least find out, am I protected against the retirement risk? And if I'm not, if there's an exposure to a retirement risk, based on my situation, can I do something about it? And many people can't, but many people can once they find out a solution to address a retirement risk. So when you really think about it, if what you're doing right now isn't working, or if your intuition or instinct or actual results tell you it won't work, then you have to change what you're doing. Doing the same thing over and over and expecting new results won't work, and it becomes frustrating. So we have to ask, what does it take to get started? Sometimes the hardest thing for people to do is just get going, get a start, move forward. Once you get that start, it's kind of like a car at the top of a hill in neutral that gets a little push and begins moving forward, gaining momentum, speeding toward its destination. The single most important act for people to start planning is to actually start planning. And I know this sounds very basic, but I've discovered that if I can help people get into that first gear and take some small actions like gathering all their financial papers together, that is a great start, the first start. Then the rest of the planning is going to fall in place. And that means going through all of your papers that are stored away in files and drawers in order to find statements, contracts, and policies that will indicate where you are, what needs to be changed, or if you're on the right track. And many times that's the situation. When I meet with a new radio listener or referral, we have a discussion about where they're at, how much planning have they done, and many times I do find those individuals that are in a situation where they're on track. They don't need to change anything, and I'm going to be the first to tell them that, as well as whoever you're working with has done a good job. If you're happy, stick with them. And many people that I talk to, it will take months and months for them to get to the point of discussing where their planning has taken them at this point. I think the big reason it takes a long time is getting that information I mentioned together, organized for a review. And I get that. It is not the most exciting thing to do. Who wants to take a Saturday morning, maybe an hour, 2 hours or more, to look up papers, statements, contracts, and policies that I mentioned earlier, especially when it's a nice day? On the other hand, there are those that have everything in place in binders and can put the information together immediately. And really, I can't, or whoever you're working with, start the planning, and you won't be able to figure out what you're doing, where you're going, until everything is together. And once you've done that, you'll see the light at the end of the tunnel getting brighter and brighter. It's amazing how many old contracts people can find that aren't even in force any longer. Typically, we see that in insurance policies, life insurance policies that an individual doesn't even know that they had, or possibly it was replaced somewhere along the line. And keep in mind, the more organized you are, the easier it is for your beneficiaries in the event something were to happen. I can give you some ideas and make things more clear by having a telephone discussion and to help you determine if we really should get together to meet. The number is 888-426-0177, 888-426-0177. Eliminate the procrastination, get started, and that's half the battle. And once you get started, you can begin to put together your plan or to update your plan. I enjoy the relief and satisfaction that a client has when the planning process starts, and being able to take a look at what a client has done to this point and to do a risk tolerance test to see if they're on track towards their tolerance for risk. So the bottom line is motion is better than meditation. The most important act for people to start planning is to actually start planning, and the best plan is worthless if it isn't put into action. I have a couple minutes left in the show, so I would like to briefly touch on an idea coping with a volatile market. When we have volatility and an uncertain economy, sources of concern for many investors, but particularly those in or near retirement, is income that will be coming in from your investment portfolio. And this is when you have to change your withdrawal rate that you're taking for income. You know, during good markets, you may have chosen a higher withdrawal rate from your retirement accounts than really what you need for living expenses. Determine how much of your monthly expenses are covered by guaranteed sources of income, such as Social Security, annuities, and a pension. If these sources cover most of your living expenses, consider reducing the amount you're withdrawing from your investment accounts. A lower rate may help more of your assets to be in a position where you'll benefit from a market return. It's surprising how many people aren't aware that they can make an adjustment or that they should make an adjustment because they're receiving an income each month that's coming from their investments, and they just don't think about it, or they're not aware that there are alternatives, adjustments, and different strategies that can be taken so they don't get into a situation in the future where they have drained their assets to be used for income. It's very important to develop that plan for maximizing your retirement income. And in many cases, it's making an adjustment, repositioning assets over to guaranteed sources of income, so the problem is eliminated in the future when we have a down market or volatility. You don't want to be in a situation where you're withdrawing more than what your gains are, especially over time. This situation can be prevented with today's product developments and strategies giving you that guaranteed source of income. It may work, it may not. Most of the time it does, but you have to find out how to establish those guaranteed sources of income, especially when Social Security and pension income is not enough for you. My job is to show you how you can accomplish that. So I welcome your calls, questions, concerns. You can reach me at 888-426-0177. Once again, that number is 888-426-0177. Thank you for tuning in. This is your host, Jon Heischman. I'll be back next week.
The Safe Money and Retirement Show with Jon Heischman Sr. To get in touch with Jon, call 1-888-426-0177. That's 1-888-426-0177. For more information about Heischman Financial Services, visit their website, HeischmanFS.com. That's HeischmanFS.com. Join us again next time for the Safe Money and Retirement Show with Jon Heischman Sr.